welcome to another episode of the AWO podcast. I would like to thank Jesus Christ for the ability to do this podcast and for bringing the people together into this podcast world. The Kim Sparkles, the Natural Dustin, the Def Chef, and the Phenom Jimmy, here to give you your weekly wrap-up of news and rumors for the week. And we'll jump right into one of the biggest news of the week, which is Impact Wrestling released a teaser promo for Slammiversary, and in it they featured the word yes. And so that automatically told everybody in the world that Daniel Bryan was 100% going to show up at Slammiversary,
right?
Because of the one word that said yes. There's nowhere in the world did people stop and think maybe that they just did this to get everybody talking and want to buy the pay-per-view because of that. But no, in the world, it means 100% Daniel Bryan is going to show up. So with that being said, who would like to jump in and talk about this, about whether or not Daniel Bryan might show up at TNA?
I honestly, I could see him showing up, not signing contracts because he is a free agent. So, I mean, why not show up? He could show up at any of them.
Any of them, yeah.
Impact, I agree. I totally agree with that. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could just do a one-off appearance in their pay-per-view. And the funny thing about it is, if you have not watched that promo video, like, the pictures go through so fast that you have to watch it like multiple times to see the yes show up in there. And so, it's interesting because when Jon Moxley was leaving WWE and coming over to AEW, he put out, a video that foreshadowed, him going to AEW.
But he put it out. That's the difference.
He put it out. Yeah, no, what I'm saying is this is different because it wasn't like his video wasn't part of any kind of promotion that AEW did or anything like that. He put it out and had a, of course, everybody talking about, is he going to show up? Is he not? And so this is a different situation, but I don't know if he's going to show up or not, but I think it's quite possible that,
I think what Dustin said and what I texted you guys when this happened is that I could see him just taking 6 months to a year and going to AEW to do some matches, going to TNA, do some matches, going to Japan just to do whatever, going
just
to Ring of
do
Honor,
the circuit, just do
whatever
the circuit,
he wants
hit
to
all
do,
the indies
and then
up,
come back, get it all out of his system, and then just come back to the WWE for one final big run. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let him do it if that's what he wants to do.
My thing is, only reason I could see him going to these other promotions is a lighter schedule. You don't have, you're not Impact, you're not working 24/7 like right. AEW or like WWE. AEW, it's not as grueling as a schedule as WWE in Ring of Honor, and plus you're able to go to multiple other events, like Moxley showing up to that GGWC or whatever it was. AEW don't care. They're like, hey.
Well, and if you think about the money issue, I wouldn't worry about it because, like reading JR's book this past week, he has a very, very light schedule with AEW, but he makes more than he ever did in WWE.
Yeah.
And so it's like the cons have deep pockets. The other big AEW news of the week is the announcement of a new show and the announcement of a changing of networks. So, Kim, what do you think? Fill us in on everything that's going on there and what you think is why they're doing this and what could come from it.
Well, the switch from TNT to TBS is happening because of professional hockey that's going to be shown on Wednesdays on...
They're both Turner channels, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're both
Turner channels. Okay, that's what I thought.
And so...
Well, technically, they're both CBS channels now.
Right.
So the switch to TBS isn't going to happen until next year, so they will continue to be on TBS or TNT.
Well, no, Dynamite is going to switch to TBS.
Right. And then they're going to add another show back on.
And they're going to add
right.
a show on Friday nights called Rampage. And it is supposed to be an hour-long show that is also, you know, people were asking, well, what is this show going to be? They haven't said exactly what it's going to be, but they did say that it's going to be like a top tier show. So it's, you know, they have the dark and the dark elevation that they show on YouTube. People thought, well, maybe this is going to be, you know, extension of that, or maybe that's going to appear, but it sounds like it's just going to be a 1 hour show that's similar to Dynamite, where they continue to, you know, have some of the storylines maybe carry over, or hopefully it'll give an opportunity for more people to be on
Probably not
cable, you know, cable instead of YouTube.
But it's only going to be a 1 hour show on right after SmackDown's done, right?
Yes, on Friday nights, right after.
Which, I mean, CBS, it'd be interesting if CBS would want to go all in and do, you know, 2 Friday night Rampage opposite SmackDown on CBS and Fox. I don't see that ever happening right now, but it'd be cool.
Oh, and that show is actually starting in August. So
I hope the big show's on broadcasting.
Hey, first of all, where is the big show?
He's on AEW Dark. He's a announcer for them.
Oh, okay. Well,
but I have heard that he's supposed to he might be wrestling here and there.
Dustin hears everything.
He does.
Hey,
big year.
So the WWE had some big news. One is they're bringing back a live tour, house shows, 25 cities, starting in July with 3 places in Texas and going all the way until Survivor Series in November. They have not announced where those other cities are going to be yet. All of us on the screen is hoping that Omaha or Kansas City would be one of them, so we could all try to go together and see it. But that is interesting that they have finally announced it. You also hear the fact that Fox has been pushing the WWE for the last few weeks to go back to live fans, because Fox wants it. I agree with them. I don't understand why NXT can have it, and I don't understand why basketball can have it. You know what I mean? And baseball's going back to full capacity, but we still have to have the Thunderdome. You know, I think you could easily, but that's big news. Anybody excited that live shows could be returning? And if it comes to you, will you go, Corey?
Yes, I will. I'm a fully vaccinated, happy to get out and do stuff kind of guy right now.
Traveled
besides working
for shows. We've traveled a couple hours for Raw. When Raw and SmackDown were on Monday and Tuesday, we went to Raw here, and then we drove 2 hours the next day for SmackDown. So
we're thinking about going out to some local wrestling shows just to change it up a little bit. One
of my buddies does the local wrestling.
Yeah, I want to go check them out, man. I've heard good stuff about PWP, Phoenix Wrestling Professionals or something like that. I've heard about them.
I don't know which one he does, but he they just had one this week. Dan Severin was on it.
Yeah, they bring some people through. I mean, we got some.
I know the local one here in Mid-Missouri brought Barry Horowitz in last October.
NXT was traveling at one point too. NXT did come here as well, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a switch for the wrestlers, because, and I don't know if they're going to be happy or not, because I would think that after this last year of just having like a home base where, you know, a lot of people live in Florida, so they didn't have to do a whole lot of traveling, that now going back on the road, some of them might feel like,
but it's more money.
Yeah.
You know, before we talk about all the WWE releases, MVP had an interesting take on the zombie match. And I don't know if any of you guys caught this, but I did. He said who cares about the zombies? Why are you throwing a big fit about it? Because literally the Undertaker is supposed to be a dead person, and who controls nature and can shoot fire, lightning out of his hand, has conquered death many times, and we have no trouble with that. But the
zombies.
The zombie thing was too far.
I think that's awesome.
I love it.
I mean, because
probably the best tweet MVP's probably ever sent.
I mean, he's correct. How many times did Undertaker get buried or put in a casket
or bury somebody else?
I mean, how many times has Kane, died? I think it's because, here's the thing. I think it's because it was so blatantly a cross promotion for that movie that it angered people. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, it was so blatantly obvious.
But I liked it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, you are in the minority.
Ton of zombie lovers out there. And, I think that there's people, I think just in general, you're either a zombie person or you're not a zombie person. And so it's like...
Well, no, I'm a zombie person. I love those movies and books, but I just thought that was... I don't know.
I was kind of hoping to see Batista.
I'd love to see... I'd love to see Miz come back and his character's kind of messed up a little, like he's a little off. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's like a little demented and everything. But I think that would be a new twist on his character and stuff. But not like he's an Undertaker type of person, just kind of a little off. Finally, the WWE released a ton of NXT talent and referees. One referee we don't need to discuss because he obviously has issues with racial people and we should not promote that anymore. The big news was that Velveteen Dream, who at one time was groomed pretty much to take the mantle for NXT for a while, got released. And part of the thing that rose from it is that he, one, sent pictures to underage people, which he flatly denies. And two, and again, there has been no proof of it. I will say that in his defense, there has been no proof. No one has produced pictures or anything saying he did this. And second of all, everyone says he's incredibly entitled and incredibly difficult to work with across the board. So it's probably
the WWE policy is their actual policy is that they do not fire anyone unless their person has been arrested for a crime or has been convicted of a crime. But the same thing happened to
Enzo.
Yeah, the same thing happened with Enzo.
And I think it's a combination of the two. Enzo was incredibly entitled. He was pompous. He was arrogant. He got kicked off the bus when they're in Europe because the wrestlers couldn't stand him. Yeah. And I think Velveteen's the same way. So I think it was a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Speaking of other news of the week, Enzo got knocked unconscious at a DDT on the floor at a match. And anyway, that's just another thing. But Velveteen Dream's super young, 24, 25. You hope his career can recover.
Yeah,
but,
I watched when he was on Tough Enough. I did watch that episode, and it took me a while to put that together that he was the one on there because he did not win that season. And
he didn't, but he's been the biggest star from it.
And Mandy Rose was on that season.
Yeah.
But he was somebody on there that nobody liked because he felt that he was entitled. He knew the most about wrestling history, and he made that very clear when he was on the show. And that kind of turned people off and said, you might know a lot about.
I remember watching that.
You have to bring it and be a wrestler. And so he did not, he got kicked off of the show, but then obviously later came back. And some of the other people who were on that show who didn't win went through developmental and got kicked out, but
the guy who won never even made it to an on TV match for NXT.
Was that the same season that had that alligator kid?
Yeah, the same season. It was the last time.
I liked him too.
The thing is, he just felt entitled, and there's a lot of people in his generation. He's been training, and his dream forever is to be a WWE superstar. That was his whole focus. You know what I mean? So he came in way ahead of the curve, but it bit him in the butt because he already felt like he had arrived. Dustin, do you have anything to add?
I could see him going to Ring of Honor or even Impact.
Impact would be good.
You know, I mean,
so put him in his place a little bit, make him regroup his brain. You know, give him a little reality check. He kind of needs
those two would be the best place for him right now. Just
well, it's kind of like, you know, Big Show had a huge run, and then he got put back into development in Ohio Valley Wrestling for a while because he was getting too big for his britches, and it turned out to be a good thing for him.
This also, we need to see how things play out, you know, legally for him. If he has, you know, people who are making allegations against him, I don't think that really, it would be a good idea I don't think it would be a good idea for another promotion to pick him up and then have something happen and him be convicted.
Yeah.
So I think they need to wait a while and kind of play it out. And then maybe, you know, maybe he can, you know, salvage his career after that if he hasn't done anything that's, you know, gonna.
But the bottom line is, kids, no matter where you work, don't be a pompous a-hole. All right. So that wraps up the news of the week, the rumors of the week. We appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are not following us on Twitter or subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do so.
And we do interact on Twitter. I personally go on there, and you know, anybody else is also welcome to go on, but I try to engage.
I think everybody would, except for the Deaf Chef.
What?
I think all of us would interact except for the Deaf Chef.
Yeah,
he barely has time.
I know Jim has interacted some on there as well. So we look forward to growing our Twitter and our YouTube account. So please share those out to people who are interested in wrestling.
Are we over?
We are over.
No, I'm asking.
Are we
to
over?
The fans at home, are we over with them? And then I'm also asking you guys if we're over.
We're good. We're done
with the podcast. See how funny that is?
But we're not going to call it the wrap up of the show. We're going to call it the surprise roll up at the end.
Yeah, we're going to call it. See how long we can keep this going before Kim gets annoyed and figures out that we're done.
So this is the surprise roll up.